So, as many of you may know, I have not posted a YouTube video in over 2 months, and much of this is faulted by outside conflicts being school and overall life in general. But there is one thing that I've been doing behind the scenes that I hope can amalgamate into a video. So over my YouTube break, I spent around 100 hours divided up into 60 days inside of Terraria Master Mode. So, as you might remember, I did a series like this a while back, but last time I was garbage at the game and the audio was pretty bad. Not fit for the title of Master. So, as an homage to that series, I present to you 100 hours in Terraria Master Mode. Also, keep in mind, in the early stages of this playthrough, I didn't know that I was going to turn it into a video, and thus, we start off rather abruptly, but it only gets smoother as the playthrough progresses. Anyways, enjoy. Heeding that disclaimer from before, this is the earliest clip I have of this playthrough. As you can see, I only found 2 life crystals so far, and have platinum gear. Use your imagination to piece together the beginning. Ironically, for some odd reason, I took a screenshot of me finding the Terragram, one of the best early game swords in the game. But basically, that little shrine in the middle there either contains a mysterious sword, an enchanted sword, a Terragram, or an Arcalis, and the Terragram is the rarest and the best among them. And I took a screenshot of it. A short while after finding the Terragram, I come across a lost girl or nymph. Using the overpoweredness of the Terragram, I'm able to get myself a metal detector and a heap of coins, making my adventure ever more simpler. We also get a first glimpse of the infamous box house, which features a bunch of NPCs that allude to going to the corruption in the past. I didn't actually know that, and I'm sorry for not clipping that. Here I die to the new 1.4 sand trap. Numbers cannot describe how much I die in the desert, and will continue to die in the desert. This is definitely my most frustrating spot to go back to. By this point, I've acquired about half a plat and half a depth meter. Ironically, soon after dying to my first sand trap, I'm able to triumph over this one. What an accomplishment to be victorious over a piece of sand. Here, I'm building peacefully by my ocean. I've acquired platinum armor and a hand watch. All goes well until the goblin army spawns out of nowhere. This is devastating, as if you're by the ocean, the goblin army spawns immediately with no time to react. On top of that, in master mode, they're 3 times harder, so take that as you will. Again, as I mentioned before, much of the footage from the earlier parts of this run are non-existent. You might have noticed already, but I didn't catch my first Eye of Cthulhu fight, nor the Goblin Army. I didn't even catch the Eater of Worlds. This is very unfortunate, and I apologize for the inconvenience, but again, I didn't know that I was going to make this into a video, so I'm not really at fault here. As you can see, after defeating the Eater of Worlds, I felt that I was ready to take on Skeletron. Now, if you watched my previous Terraria series, you would know that Skeletron took me around 6 tries to beat, if not more. It was definitely one of my harder bosses in pretty hard mode, and was nearly the thing that stopped me from progressing in the game. But in this instance, my fighting style was basically a mesh of weapons with spikes everywhere, dealing some extra damage. I used a mini shark as well as star cannon, and basically got the job done. Unfortunately, in this attempt, I lose to Skeletron. However, I beat him the same way in the future, but again, I didn't catch that, so yeah. If you needed any more convincing that the Terragram is utterly the best early game weapon in the game, allow me to show you me completely comboing a Pinky out of existence. If you still prefer the enchanted sword over the Arcalis, that's your opinion, but I'm here to tell you it's a wrong opinion. The house is coming along so far. If you look close on the minimap, and I mean nose touching the screen close, you can see that I killed around 2 King Slimes, 3 Eyes of Cthulhu, 2 Eaters of Worlds, 2 Queen Bees, and 1 Skeletron. This number will surely grow in the future, and you'll see to which extent it does, and it's kind of a twist of irony in the end. I'll explain it more in the future. Taking another quick glance at my inventory, I obviously have the Knight's Edge, full molten gear, and I'm fishing for some quest fish for the angler. I'm obviously trying to get the cell phone early so it doesn't become a problem in hard mode. You can see that I'm working my way up to the Ankh Shield, which is a necessity in master mode. It negates almost every single debuff, and you need to have it. I did some fishing in the underworld trying to get lava waders so I could eventually get the Terra Spark boots. Capturing hell butterflies as bait was a chore, so you would understand my shock when one butterfly finally nabbed me the obsidian crate containing the key ingredient I needed to craft the lava waters, a lava charm. As a reward, I immortalized the butterfly in a jar and was finally able to craft the amazing Terra Spark boots, finalizing my top running speed at 34 miles per hour. After building what I thought was an insanely long wall of flesh platform, I thought I was ready to take on the beast that once defeated me. Unfortunately, I was mistaken, and the short platform was what ended up killing me. So I went back to work. For the fight, I used a water bolt, a star cannon, and 0 B-nades. Eventually, I triumphed over the monster, unleashing spirits of day and night, entering hard mode. This is where the story gets good. After realizing what happened to my right ocean, and seeing how close the corruption was to my left, I couldn't fathom it happening again, so I bombed out a ditch to stop corruption spread, halting it for now. World Evil spread is definitely my least liked feature in this game, and I'm starting to actually hate it. The hollow consumes my snow biome, but that's okay for now because many NPCs actually like the hollow. This is a problem for me, however, because the hollow doesn't have any actual grass blocks because it's all snow and all pink ice, and many enemies actually need hollow grass blocks to spawn, like fairies, unicorns, and prismatic lacewings, so I might actually have to make myself an artificial hollow biome, but we'll see in the future. I mean, this is too early in hard mode to really make any key decisions. So basically, the igloo that I'm housing a bunch of my NPCs in are gonna have to change some inhabitants. I also break some demon altars and find out that my world is cursed with cobalt and titanium, while blessed with orichalcum. This is definitely going to be a little tough in terms of mechanical boss fights, considering I have a majority of weak ores. But hopefully, after defeating my first mechanical boss, getting hollow bars isn't too bad. I mean, I know there's an expert mode percentage drop rate, so maybe that'll help me in the future. I cured a tortured soul, giving me the tax collector, and now I'll no longer be in crippling debt. This is another one of those inventory checkups. I spent basically the entire day grinding out the hard mode ores, eventually to titanium. I bought a pair of leaf wings, and although they were nerfed hard, they did the job well without me having to kill a single wyvern. But yet, after all this, I still got completely obliterated by a jellyfish that halved my health through a wall. That's the thing that needs nerfing here. I had my first encounter with a hollowed mimic. And with the destroyer in my sights, I persisted my advance, hoping to get the Daedalus Stormbow. Unfortunately, it was not a fair fight, and I basically got tag teamed by all the mobs of the Hollow. I'll get my rematch. Apparently, God decided to give me a gift today. Not only did an elusive pixie spawn, but a shooting star hit it and dropped the megaphone, another key ingredient to the Ankh Shield that would have been tedious to grind otherwise. On another foot, I managed to fight and triumph over my first wyvern. I used the meteor staff. One would think that my goal is to be a mage, considering the amount of magic I've been using during this playthrough. During this period, a lot of stuff happens. In the midst of a rainy blood moon, I get myself the Nimbus Rod, 2 Blade Tears, and craft a few spider summon weapons, hoping to defeat the destroyer. I faced another goblin army, this time in hard mode. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it on camera. I also get my revenge on the Hollow Mimic, which dropped the Daedalus Stormbow. Using the Daedalus Stormbow and a few Jester Arrows, which, let's be honest, I should be saving for the Destroyer, I completely destroy a Flying Dutchman and get the trophy for it. This was probably not the smartest decision to make, but it was surely satisfying. For fun, I decided to take out the Queen Slime, considering the new black spot mount I got. Honestly, this killing of random bosses is just all nerve from me anticipating the Destroyer. I hate the mech bosses, especially in Master Mode. The idea is just shocking. But surprisingly, none of them have auto-spawned yet, which is kind of getting me worried. I used the Daedalus Stormbow method mixed with the Nimbus Rod method to take out the Destroyer, and honestly, I don't know what I was worrying about. If you look closely on the minimap, you can see that I made a whole new arena just for the Destroyer, and I didn't even use it. That's ironic. This, as you might have guessed, is another inventory checkup, and also a reminder that jungle creepers need to be nerfed. This minimal knockback and walking on walls ability is not okay, and should not have to be suffered by a mere destroyer defeater. I want my steampunker to go to the desert so I can get the cheapest solution prices. Unfortunately, I forget that there's a huge crater leading all the way down to what can be considered hell. Not the exact, the equivalent, hell. Hopefully she doesn't have a hard time getting there. As you might have guessed, I head over to the jungle to see if I can get myself some life fruit. Getting all 20 possible life fruit should make the next boss fight about 25% better. You might have caught that during that jungle trip I got myself a Bazoar. Turns out that was the last ingredient I needed to craft the Ankh Shield, so out of the Cell Phone, Ankh Shield, and Zenith, there's only 2 more to go. Nothing eventful happened during the Skeletron Prime fight. He actually spawned randomly, so I couldn't get him on camera. The twins, on the other hand, was actually a cakewalk, so I was able to finally wipe out all 3 mechanical bosses, and start my ascent into late game. While building a floating home for the truffle, which, might I add, is the first time I've ever built a circle in Terraria, wyverns constantly berate my work. Probably not the best place to construct a house, but to be honest, I don't care. Wyverns should spawn higher up. They've become more of a nuisance than anything, and honestly, they're just a pest to exterminate. Let's just say with the pickaxe axe, I did some serious chlorophyte mining. I'm now practically completely stacked in chlorophyte, but as you can see, my exhibition is not done. Although, during all this chlorophyte mining, no one actually ever reminded me to restock on my ammo, so I wonder how this will play a role in the future. If you wanted to see me defeat Skeletron, then here it is. Really no significance, just wanted to get more Souls of Fright. I tackled the Torch God, and honestly, I was scared. The common tool item that I've been using all throughout this run was trying to kill me. A solid twist. Never could have seen it coming. But, of course, it didn't stand a chance. I was definitely overprepared for this fight, and probably should have done it in pre-hard mode. Although, if that were the case, I probably wouldn't have it on camera. Here, I craft the true variant of the Knight's Edge and Excalibur. To be totally honest with you, having their iconic recipe change was definitely a smack in the face to me. But in hindsight, the fact that I hadn't even received a solar eclipse yet meant that I couldn't even craft a Terrorblade, so I was somewhat wasting my time here. Here's a quick glance at that truffle house that I was making a while ago, with no wyvern interruption by the way. I also use it as a home for the guide, because if you didn't know, the truffle actually really likes the guide. I ended up digging out a huge area in the underground jungle to fight Plantera. The strat here was making it vertically strong, contrary to normal. With my chlorophyte gear, Plantera was also pretty easy, and just a cakewalk in general. Also, I failed to mention that I actually got myself a jungle key, so if you see me getting some biome chests, then you'll know why. We were graciously granted a solar eclipse and acquired for ourselves the infamous Broken Hero Sword. With this, we were able to craft the magnificent Terrorblade. Gamers far and wide have heard this sword one way or another. It's good to finally have it in my hands. In fact, with my Terrorblade, King Slime was so scared to fight that he spawned in then despawned as soon as he saw my sword waving in the air. This is the exact moment when I realized the post-Plantera dungeon was an utter nightmare. Going into this, my main goal was to get the Tactical Shotgun, as it can prove to be a formidable upgrade to the Mega Shark. I do eventually get it, however, along with 20 snipers and 40 key brands. This was horrible. Golem is, and forever will be, the easiest boss in Terraria. Once I defeated him in the altar room, the true farming began. Out of this, I gained all the necessary golem drops, including the pick saw and possessed hatchet. I'll never really have to go back to the temple again. Do you remember that moment when God sent down stars to drop the megaphone from a pixie? Yeah, well, apparently all that luck ran out, because as soon as I finished my solar eclipse, I got a blood moon, back to back. Guys, it's time for me to come out. As trans. No, not transgender, trans class. Terraria class. I can now instantaneously switch from melee to ranger to mage with a click of a button. This advantage is practically dire for master mode, as now I can face any single boss in any single style. When in doubt, switch it out. I prepare for the Duke Fishron fight. I get some truffle worms, build an asphalt bridge, and switch to range for the fight. You can see that I'm going to use a tactical shotgun. You can see that this attempt goes well. So well, in fact, that I die. This death was abnormal, and I remade the entire arena. Coming back more prepared, I die again? Jeez, this is a hard boss. I retreat to fight in the Frost Moon, because that's what I do in these situations. I need some sort of resolution to my constant failures. Like they say, 17 times a charm, and I'm finally able to defeat the Duke. I get a Razorblade Typhoon, an elite weapon for mages, and I also get a Shrimpy Truffle, so I guess my luck isn't that bad. I take on the Martian Madness event. For the most part, everything goes well. I don't die too much. The only real problem here is my blatant inability to defeat the Martian Saucer. With its item currently unattainable, this sets my progression back quite a bit. In the same day, I attempt to take on the Old One's army. Prior to this, I hadn't faced Tier 1 nor Tier 2 of this event, likely an oversight on my part. Unfortunately, because of how late I started the event, wave strength was maxed out and I died on the 5th wave. Soon later, I take on the Pumpkin Moon. I'm starting to notice a trend here. Surprisingly, on my first attempt, I make it to wave 12 and get myself the Horseman's Blade, which is going to be another sole contributor to making the Zenith in the end. I made a biome-changing fishing spot using a natural sky island. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to learn from my last mistake and made it too high in the sky, causing pesky wyverns to spawn and disturb the peace. If you remember way back when in the beginning of hard mode when I complained about not having any hollow grass blocks to farm enemies with, yeah, that's catching up with me, as I'm ready to fight the Empress of Light, but I don't have any prismatic lace wings. I contaminated a small patch of hollow grass above pure blocks as a temporary fix to this problem, but you'll see that this problem persists until the very end of the playthrough. Anyways, this is my first attempt at the Empress of Light. Of course, I die, as I always do. Also, the constant talk on Reddit saying that she's harder than the Moonlord, the hardest boss in this game, is not helping either. She's only an optional boss, I say to my past self. Also, I built one of those biome changing arenas to give myself an artificial hollow, because building arenas in the snow biome is an utter nightmare. I decided to try my luck with the lunatic cultist. Did I know this would unleash the lunar pillars? Yes. Was I prepared for the Moonlord? Probably not. My battle with the pillars was, as you expected, just a montage of me dying over and over again, especially to the solar pillar. Eventually they were defeated, but that's in every storybook. During the Moonlord fight, I lost every single sense of direction I had ever acquired while playing Terraria. For some odd reason, with my low defense as a ranger, I relied on the mechanical boss arena to defeat the Moonlord, and obviously that's a horrible idea. Moonlord basically spoon-fed me with heaps of damage. I was buffed up on potions and I still lost to him in such an embarrassing way. I obviously needed to rework my fighting style. During my intermission period between my next fight with the Moonlord, I did a lot of stalling. I defeated Duke Fishron once more, even though I didn't need any more drops. I attempted the Old One's army, but yet again, that was a fail. And the highlight during this period, I created an artificial crimson biome, yet I don't even remember why I did it. Also during this period, I made it to the 13th wave of the Pumpkin Moon. My chests are now overflowing with Halloween stuff. I also defeated the Martian Saucer with post-pillar gear. Everything at this point is significantly easier than it once was. I also did some more fishing for the angler because, of course, I still need that fish finder. The cell phone isn't going to craft itself. While contaminating my world, I noticed an enchanted sword shrine right under a giant tree. The entrance doesn't touch the surface, so without randomly digging, I would have never known it was there. This was a completely random occurrence. On top of that, the enchanted sword was the only pre-hard mode weapon I was worried about getting in anticipation for crafting the Zenith, considering how my first and only sword shrine on the surface was the Terragrim. In a sheer amount of luck, this random sword shrine gave me the enchanted sword, and now I was only 3 swords away from being able to craft the Zenith, the Seedler, the Meowmere, and the Starwrath. If you take a look at my void bag, you can see that I've been farming Planteras. By this point, I feel like I've been killing Planteras for the past 2 real-world days, with yet to find a Seedler. The 14% drop ratio on this thing doesn't seem like what it is. Throughout this series, I feel like I'm not showing you guys enough of my house. While it's not much of a spectacle, it suits its needs well. On the top floor, I have a chest room, ever so upgraded, with an armor display just above it. That extra space you see above that is going to be used to make a universal teleporter, as pylons don't get the job done. Believe it or not, throughout this playthrough, I've always wanted my primary class, pre-Moonlord, to be a range. Unfortunately, that never came to fruition until now, when I finally got my hands on the ammo box. If you ever wondered why none of my arenas had ammo boxes, it's because the traveling merchant never sold them. Ever. Not even once. So yeah, you can definitely understand my joy when I finally got it this time. I envy how the kill counter doesn't say how much I've killed this boss, but I reckon if it did, it would be over 100. After so much grinding, I finally got the Seedler, so now I have no more excuse to stall for the Moonlord. Here's another quick look at my Zenith crafting chest. Excluding the Terrorblade, I only need the Meowmere and the Starwrath to complete the set, so that's what I'm going to do now. In order to craft all the potions I need for the fight, I make a little planting room underneath my house. After defeating the pillars, I face off against Moonlord again with my potions intact. I'm a bit more prepared this time with the semi-long malnourished glass platform. Unfortunately, I die again. I am arrogant, so I waste 80 lunar fragments just to die to him again. In record time, might I add. I do the process again, and again, and again. However, I should add that this last time, I made it pretty far using the nurse heal method. Although, my nurse was in my house, so in a dramatic twist of irony, I die the same way I tried cheesing the fight. During my stalling time, I decided to make an artificial hollow biome so I can face off against the Empress of Light a second time. Something tells me that killing her will help me in the final battle. Anyways, the building takes an insanely long time, and this video is moving at 100 times speed. In the end, I finally do get the prismatic lace wings, overall toppling my original method. I have my rematch with the Empress of Light, and after 1 or so deaths, I'm able to defeat her. The real reason I wanted this kill is because one of the drops is the Soaring Insignia, a wonderful item that when paired with the fish rod wings, allows you to fly in the air infinitely. For fun, I show off my Soaring Insignia by defeating Duke Fishron aerial style. Because it's a melee boss, dodging is key here. The Soaring Insignia has dodging capability that I might find useful during the next Moonlord fight. This time, I really prepared for the Moonlord fight. I remade a glass platform lower to the ground to avoid wyverns and added campfires. I also designated a signature house to the nurse, just in case I knew I was gonna die. As you might have guessed, without pain there's no gain, so after all of these attempts of fighting the Moon Lord, I die again. Yup, all you betting in my favor look real dumb right now. Looks like past Kentra left a little note after dying to the Moon Lord, who's only at 100 health. During this fight, I remained consistent. I stuck to the bridge and the path I planned out. I strategically planned my motions, doing one full rotation on the platform. Never did I once turn to the nurse. Using my godly vortex beater, I'm finally able to take out the Moon Lord and claim the title of Master of Terraria. Nothing will ever replace the feeling of beating the Moon Lord on Master for the first time. The relief is so astonishing, and definitely makes me think about this journey. If I hadn't tended to my obvious bodily needs, I would have been playing Terraria for over 100 hours straight, all leading up to this moment. This is definitely an accomplishment to remember. At this point, farming Moonlords is like a cakewalk. I'm farming Moonlord right now not only for the Meowmere and the Star Wrath, but also enough Luminite bars so I can craft all the lunar armors. I don't know why, I just want to. It looks cooler. Using my Celebration Mark II gun from Moonlord, I'm able to defeat Betsy and finally completely obliterate the old one's army. Also, if you didn't notice before, I crafted myself the cell phone. It literally just happened. Surprisingly, after getting the first ingredient for the fish finder, I got the rest of them relatively close in time. Also, in another magnificent fashion, I was finally able to get myself the Star Wrath from the Moon Lord, which means I can finally craft the Zenith. Finally, no more crafting trees. Finally, that concludes my 100 Days in Terraria Master Mode. I'm super sorry for leaving this channel in the dust, but now that it's summer, I hope to upload more frequent and higher quality videos. Please suggest some more games to play in the comments, and I hope to see you guys later. Goodbye.